What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Something a little bit different today. We're starting on this little beastie we've got here. Now, if you remember, probably 8 months or so ago, we did a tune on a little turboed 4-age in an AE82, like a little front wheel drive Corolla for a bloke by the name of Josh. And that thing has just been absolutely epic. It made about 160 wheel horsepower back then. And being as light as it is, the thing actually does just gap a lot of cars. It's freaking awesome. So Josh has been enjoying the crap out of that car since we finished it. And he's just loved every second of it. But you know, the whole thing, the whole time has always been for more power, as it always is. The quest for extra pepper, extra go. So he's been collecting 4-ages for a while. He's definitely just a 4-age guy. He actually bought this motor off Jacob Peck. So this is a 4AG ZE. Now I'm still, admittedly, as I've said to you all quite a bit, I'm fairly new to the 4A platform. I'm not super knowledgeable about them. I've been getting a lot of help with Josh about what he wants to do with this thing. And I know that the 4AG ZE, they have a big end, I believe it is. I don't know, there's one of the journals is bigger, so it makes them just a bit stronger. But anyway, we're going to be building a nice spicy little forged 4-age out of this, and most of it's out of parts that Josh has managed to acquire very cheap. So it's going to be quite a cheap setup, which should make pretty good power. And yeah, hopefully we'll see this in the car. He's got some sort of built gearbox to go with it as well. Because at the moment, the biggest thing is happening with that Corolla as it sits is the fact that the clutch is very sad, the clutch slips, but apart from that, the thing is just like an absolute freight train. So the goal for this build is 300 plus at the front wheels, which is just ludicrous. I cannot even imagine that car with literally double the power. It's going to be insane. But anyway, this is how I've acquired the block from Josh. He pretty much got to a point where his tools limited what he could do. So still got to do a little bit of tear down and get ready to go to the machine shop. So let's get stuck into it. All right, so one of the biggest issues at the moment is got to get the timing gear off, and there's not really any way to get it off. We can't get any of our pullers in behind the gear to actually pull it off. And with these alloy oil pump housings, you've got to be really careful about trying to pry these gears off, because you're more likely to crack the oil pump housing than you are to actually get the gear off. So to get this thing off, we're going to have to mark, punch, drill and tap 2 M6 holes so I can actually get our puller and pull the gear off. I do have a spare gear in the bucket, which Josh has supplied for in case something happens, but fingers crossed I can actually drill and tap this thing and actually have it as a reusable gear. And that way, you know, for the future, it's a lot easier to get on and off, much more serviceable. This is something we do with RB timing gears, if you can't actually buy one that already has tapped holes in it. But yeah, very handy thing to do. So anyway, we'll go through and get these done. All right, there you go, guys. Now we've got a timing gear that's been drilled and tapped. So anyway, unfortunately I don't have a bottoming tap and I don't want to drill all the way through. The story is that we've got a new crank. We're not using this crank because the crank in this thing's pretty rooted. I've got another one there. But we do potentially want to use this new gear. which is looking pretty nice. I like my tap job, so we might. And we do want to use this oil pump. So the whole idea is to make sure we get this gear off without damaging the oil pump. We should be right, I think. So we'll get this off now. Oh, look at that. Just glides right on in. So anyway, as soon as we get this gear off, I'll go through what the rest of the plan is for the rest of the parts for the build. Josh did himself really, really well. So like the whole turbo kit that was on that Corolla, I think I explained it when it was here for the tune last time, but what happened was he went and bought might have been another Corolla off a guy that had built it, you know, years and years and years ago, and it blew up or something, and it pretty much sat under his house for years and years. It already had that manifold and that Garrett turbo on it, which is on his car now, but it was also a fully forged 4AG ZE that had just been, something happened to it. I can't remember what it was. I don't remember, you know, exact specifics, but for whatever reason, this dude just had it sitting under his house, and Josh thought for sure he'd want, you know, some decent money for it because there was still a lot of good gear in there, and I'm pretty sure Josh offered him like 500 bucks or something, and old mate was just like, yeah, I'll take it. So Josh managed to get all of this stuff for like 500 bucks, and that's the crank and the pistons that we've got over there and the rods and stuff. So that's pretty much most of the rotating assembly, but this block, the other block, there was something wrong with it. Maybe it damaged the bores or something, I'm not sure, but either way, it's a pretty cool story of a pretty cool deal. So when you start working out about how much like this entire sort of build's gonna cost him with how cheap he got the parts, it's pretty freaking awesome. You can see that. Stripped that. Absolutely cooked. No good. The old M6 bolts are a bit unhappy too. They've got a bit of curve happening. Oh, so we do have a spare puller, which should be fine, but all of that effort and we're still only like at the end of the keyway. There's still a fair way to go. So anyway, like I was saying, we're not going to be using this gear anymore because it's cooked from having hit it with the hammer and stuff. It's ruined a few of the little teeth. It happens, that's fine. So pretty much my plan at this point is to get my drill bit. I'm going to finish off this hole all the way through. I'm going to get a cold chisel. I'm going to crack it. I'm going to crack the gear open, release some of the tension on the gear, and then we should be able to just gently pry it off. So it is an old trick. It's another thing that you can do as long as you're happy to destroy the gear. Something we've had to do on RBs a few times. It's always a risk when it's all the way back towards the pump that you drill too far and damage something behind the actual gear, but it's far enough out that it'll be safe. And yeah. Whoa, see that? It's pretty good. Pretty good with me hole depth. I did pretty well. It was only just about to go through. All right, cold chisel. Crack that bitch open. Now, because I hadn't intended on doing it this way, I actually purposely drilled the hole at a bigger part of the gear, actually on the rise of one of the actual gear teeth. Normally, if you had planned to do this in the first place, you drill your hole in the valley. But anyway, it shouldn't matter too much. Should still be able to make it work fair enough. But I will flip it over to get a better hit from the top. one hit with this here ball peen hammer. Blow up half the city, maybe even half the country. Oh, sorry guys, just gonna have to make way for Fanny so I can get a good swing at this. Alright, that appears to have cracked the gear all the way to the crank, so again, you just want to gently pry always, because this oil pump is the precise thing that we want to save. Still stuck. Freaking hell. It's ridiculous. Well, there you go guys, that was meant to be a very graceful, hey, this is how you modify your timing gears to make it serviceable. And nice. Awesome, right. Yeah. You get that on the big jobs. Anyway, now that that's done, we can continue on with the tear down of this block. So pretty much all we need at the moment from this is we need the block and we need the oil pump. So strip this ready to go to machine shop, because I got to take it down this week because I got to pick up another motor from the machine shop this week. So got to get it done. I'll say this is the first time I've really gotten to have a good look at a little 4-age, and although I still have not really seen much of the stock rods and pistons and stuff that come out of them, I must say, just going off the blocks and the oiling design, a few other things that I've been looking at, they're pretty freaking cool. You could say I'm a fan. Alright, one saved oil pump. Look at that. Even the way the drive for the spline's keyed's pretty good. I mean, it's not as good as a J, but it's pretty good. Alright, so I'm actually going to probably just let the machine shop deal with that broken bolt, just for fear of damaging the block. If it was mine, personally, I'd have a go at it, but being that it's not my block, I don't want to be the one that damages. So that's going to stay in there for the machine shop to try and get out. So, pull the crank. Alright, so just before I pull this crank out, I've noticed that the actual main caps have no... Oh yeah, they are marked. That's right. Skip that. I was going to have to engrave them because I noticed that Josh had written on them what they were, but they actually are marked. You just got to look really hard to see it. But anyway, pull this old crappy crank out and toss it. Alright, so I'm pretty sure the GoPro went flat just as I was finishing off pulling off the squirters there, but regardless, we've got ourselves a nice little bare block ready to send to machining. So we're good to go there. Got a few things here ready for some cleanup. Look how little everything is. It's so cute. And we've got a crank over here, which to my knowledge is pretty much just going in the scrap bin because all the rod journals are cooked. Absolutely cooked. So, alrighty, and I'll show you what else there is. So, yeah, like I was saying, you got that deal for like 500 bucks. Absolutely stoked. Heaps of good gear from it. Came with the Microtech and stuff as well, which we had originally tried to get running in that AE82 that he's got, which ended up getting ditched for a nice little Haltech Elite 550, which was why I didn't buy Sam there at Whitey's Wiring, which we were absolutely stoked about. That thing is so much better with the Haltech in it. So here we go. This is his little box of goodies. So this is the crank we're going to be using, which is out of that motor that he got in that deal. And these are the rods and pistons. And as you can see, these are quite substantial. Like that is, I have no idea what brand they are or what the deal is. But I've measured them up. They're about, I think, a mil or a half mil overbore, if I remember right. It was a little while ago when I measured them up. But good, because that block over there does need a bore. So these, the whole combo works out perfectly. But yeah, you can see, look at the size of that rod. It's going to be a little menace, this thing. So, and you already know, those who have watched the actual build, or you know, when we actually, not the build, but when we tuned it, the turbo that's on that thing was a very substantial size for what it is. So you know, we've got plenty of turbo there to make power. With this forged engine, we're going to have plenty of strength to do it. So pretty wild. With these are his heads that he's got. He bought me two heads. One of them is the GZE head, which has the rear drain on it, which is the one that came off that motor there, which was in Pecky's car. The other one is the head that came off the motor that all of that like really good rotating assembly came out of, which has upgraded valve springs and retainers. So the plan is to put the good valve springs and retainers into the GZE head, so he retains the rear head drain. So GZE head, GZE block, big crank, you know, those big rods and pistons. Get ourselves some little ARP main studs here, and we're going ARP head studs with a, you know, multi-layer steel gasket, and that should pretty much round out the combo. So it's going to be that, plus as much boost as that thing will throw at it pretty much, and fingers crossed we, yeah, make a decent amount of power, maybe 300 or so horsepower, probably on E85 as well. So yeah, he's already been talking to Sam at Whitey's there about getting a Walbro 460, you know, like the wiring upgraded for a 460 and get everything else done to make sure the fuel system is up to par. He's got some Bosch 1000cc injectors. I'm pretty sure they're 1000, so I don't know. You got some injectors for Christmas or birthday, something like that, I don't know. There's a lot going on, but the thing is going to be an absolute menace. It's going to be ridiculous. I'm so excited. Me and Rex are both we just shake our heads about how just absolutely stupid this thing is going to be. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. So he's meant to have some built 5-speed for it as well. I'm pretty sure all he needs to do is buy a clutch. So we've got the flywheel over there. Yeah, and he's got some crazy built 5-speed, which I'm pretty sure came in that same deal. I'm pretty sure it was on that same car that all that rotating assembly and stuff was in, that he got everything for like 500 bucks. He was absolutely stoked. So as you can imagine, this whole car still, by the time it's together and still making really good power, it's still going to owe him not a lot of money considering. So pretty cool little unit. It's going to be really cool to take to roll racing and stuff and really hurt some feelings, I reckon. Oh, it's going to be a heartbreaker. Yeah, it already is a heartbreaker. It really is. He's got some hilarious stories of people that just have wanted to fight him because he's told them that his car makes 160 horsepower and then still just walked him at the lights. So it's pretty funny. So it's definitely something we're into, this odd little cool stuff like this. So yeah, exciting stuff. So anyway, we'll get this stuff down to the machine shop this week. At the same time I pick up Muff Garage's 1J, and then we can get stuck into the 1J and we'll wait for this to come back. So anyway guys, that's where we'll leave this one. So tune in for the next episode, and yeah, we'll be hopefully building ourselves a little monster. Little wolf in sheep's clothing. Good one. Anyway, peace out guys, catch you later.